Welcome to Ask the Edmonds Cop. I'm Teresa Whipple and Sergeant Hawley. Today we're going to talk about pedestrian safety.
Okay.
All right.
And flags.
And flags. And orange flags.
Orange flags.
Yes. Barbara Chase asked the question about the orange flags that we often see at intersections around town.
Yeah. Hi, Barbara.
So orange flags are obviously visible, and we have them where people can grab them sometimes and walk to the other side.
Yeah.
But if you're in a place where maybe they don't have them, Barbara's wondering if that's a good practice for a pedestrian to maybe carry that flag around with them.
Sure. So looking at pedestrian safety, I like to do my research, looking at different sites and stuff. So I looked at NHTSA. And you're like, what the heck is NHTSA?
Yes.
So NHTSA, and we do a lot of stuff actually related to NHTSA, and that's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Okay. Grants come through them for DUI enforcement, all sorts of stuff. So needless to say, they have quite a bit on pedestrian safety. And some really interesting numbers, so I thought I'd bring some of these in for you.
Okay.
One pedestrian is killed every 2 hours.
Wow.
In the United States. So this is 2015. It's a federal program, so I mean you're always going to be a couple years behind as far as number collecting goes. So in 2015, 5,376 pedestrians were killed nationwide.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a problem.
In car accidents, yeah. And they account for 14% of all traffic fatalities.
Okay.
So the key, be visible. We'll get to some actual safety type stuff, but that's the number one thing, is to be visible. Nighttime, a third of all these fatalities occur between 8 and midnight. Mm-hmm. When it's dark out.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And we see it. I mean, I see people walking around at night. I worked graveyard for a lot of years, and people were in all black out walking around at night.
Yeah, and I don't think they realize how, from a driver's perspective, you just can't see when people are wearing black.
Yeah, that's correct. So, light colored clothing, bright colored clothing, you talk about those orange flags. Yeah. The more visible you can be, the better. Walk in well-lit areas, if there's street lights on one side, walk under those. Mm-hmm. Everything you can do to be visible is good. Reflective armbands, there's a lot of products out there now, which is good. You see a lot of people walking around, bright neon coats, and they've got built-in reflectors.
Right.
Whatever you can do, if it's buying one of those armbands, or even some of them have LED lights and stuff. Right. Shoes light up now. They've got clip-ons, so you can put on your heel. Anything you can do to make yourself visible to a car is huge.
Okay.
Step in the right direction. The other thing is stay alert. Your eyes and ears are really your best tool for that. So, put the phone down.
A lot of people are walking with their phones.
Absolutely. Thumbs of fury, texting or whatever it comes down to. But or playing an app. I think Pokemon Go is kind of on the way out, so we don't see that quite as much. But off the phone, stay alert. One thing I thought was kind of interesting and was a good safety tip that they had in their list I hadn't thought about is make eye contact.
Yes. And
it makes total sense. So if you're coming up to a crosswalk and you're waiting and a car is coming up, stare at them, look at it, and make sure that you make that eye contact. So then it's a cue that they realize that you're there.
Yeah. And
they're not distracted, or they just didn't pick up on you. Also important, follow the rules. So we've talked about it's a two-way street before, because we've done pedestrian law violations. Yeah. So you have to also obey the pedestrian laws. If everybody obeys their sets of rules, then we shouldn't be having people hit.
Okay.
Avoid alcohol
when you're walking.
Yeah, I thought this was a very interesting statistic. So 34% of pedestrians killed were over the legal limit for their state had they been driving.
Wow.
So for Washington, that's 0.08. So a lot of pedestrians that were killed were essentially intoxicated.
So walking home from the bar maybe is not such a good idea.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, and if you think about it, I mean, there's a reason you're not supposed to drive while you're intoxicated. It diminishes your senses, your decision making is significantly slowed. So,
Okay.
Kind of an interesting thing there. And also, and we talked about this before, we got some money in this year's budget specifically for pedestrian safety.
Right.
So that was part of the city's budget this year, and $15,000 to be exact, and it's earmarked for pedestrian safety campaign. And we don't know quite what that's going to look like yet. So the police department is going to be working with some of the other city departments. We're going to be sitting down together and figuring, okay, what would be the best use of that money, most bang for a buck, so to speak. Is that going to be education, a campaign about that? Is it going to be maybe we get a bunch of those reflective armbands and give those out? We don't know quite what that's going to look like yet, but those are some ideas. And if people have ideas, we'd certainly love to hear what you think. So you can, contact us, let us know. You can submit ideas and tips via our website. So those will get routed to the right place.
Okay, good. And so in terms of the flags, I mean, if you wanted to carry a flag, you could.
Oh, absolutely.
But it might be easier to get something you could wear on your arm, or just make sure it's something bright, in
Sure.
your jacket.
I'd say if you're going to be a frequent pedestrian, I mean, you're out and you do a lot of walking, I think it's worthwhile to invest in some sort of reflective clothing. Or if you're jogging, whatever it is, if you're a runner, that's a sound investment.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll be back again soon with another episode of Ask the Edmonds Cop.